Welcome back, folks. As Labor Day celebrations get underway in Faizabad, we're joined in studio by the Secretary General of the Communication Workers Union, Mr. Joseph Remy, and the Chief Education and Research Officer of the OWTU, Mr. Ozzi Warwick. And they're here to discuss the latest in industrial relations in Trinidad and Tobago. Gentlemen, welcome to Morning Edition.
Thank you.
Good to have you here.
Good to be here again.
Secretary General, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure.
I think in Labor Day celebrations 2014, it seems to me that there has been some kind of repair of the damage done to the labor relations in this country, and the idea is that the PSA will return to Faizabad this year. Is that correct?
Well, let me just say on the onset, Hayden, that we expect Labor Day 2014 to be one of the more exciting and one of the biggest Labor Day celebrations, especially coming off of the very successful and extremely powerful May 23rd demonstration. And what we decided as the JTUM is to say, listen, this is Labor Day, it's our day, it's the day for the labor movement, the entire labor movement. So the decision was taken to write to all trade unions, inviting them to participate in the Labor Day celebrations. And this will include all units of FITUN and all units of NATUC. And there are others who are not members of either, TUTA, for example.
Right.
And to say quite frankly, all of the trade unions throughout Trinidad and Tobago have responded to this open invitation to say, listen, Labor Day belongs to the workers of Trinidad and Tobago. It belongs to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So we would like for all trade unions to join in the demonstration and the march. And so far we've had an extremely positive response in terms of participation in the demonstration and march.
So, Mr. Remy, is it that this heralds a new era in labor union labor unions working together in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, I would not want to describe it as heralding a new era, but it's the ongoing dynamics of the trade union movement. And we have had circumstances and situations in the past where certain trade unions had indicated that they would not be part of the Labor Day celebrations for one reason or the other. Some would have been unfounded. But we have always maintained the position that Faizabad is the birthplace of the labor movement, the progressive labor movement. And as such, we open it to every worker, every trade union to be part of that celebration. And I would hope that it is not just the heralding, but it is a realization of what a united and strong trade union movement can mean and could represent for Trinidad and Tobago. And I would hope that people would put aside all their petty differences. And I have a favorite statement. When you come to the Faizabad, take your ego and leave it at Avocat Junction. Don't walk with it down to Charlie King Junction. Because a lot of ego that really surfaces and plays itself out. And the workers are the ones who suffered. So our aim is to make sure that workers feel that strength and feel that there's this movement that is still there to give them that protection and to advance their interests. And we would hope that somewhere along the line, people's mindset would alter and there'll be a different kind of representation that would be given to workers in Trinidad and Tobago. And that is what we are looking for. So we would hope that this new, the 23rd of May would have been the catalyst, we believe, to galvanize a lot of things together in Trinidad and Tobago and to really represent what the trade union movement in Trinidad and Tobago ought to be doing.
Mr. Warwick, let me ask you this question. I mean, you were the Chief Education Officer of the OWTU, one of the most powerful unions in Trinidad and Tobago, and in 2010, the MSJ, which is essentially the political arm of a number of the joint trade unions, joined with this coalition arrangement, and they were able to successfully win the 2010 general election. Since then, the MSJ has withdrawn from the coalition arrangement. What do you think has gone wrong as far as the execution of the Faizabad Accord to the extent now where the people of Trinidad and Tobago are still looking for new leadership?
I think the first thing is a betrayal of the spirit of the Faizabad Accord. The Accord was based on the premise that different interests would come together, but each interest would be served. So, for example, MSJ represented the interest of working people, the interest of labor. That was our political vehicle. And we were in there with very specific targets, which included the IRA, amendments to the Industrial Relations Act, significant changes in terms of the recognition process.
Recognition of unions.
Recognition of unions.
Yeah.
We wanted to address the Workmen's Compensation Act that is outdated. We wanted workers, domestic workers, to be recognized as workers under the IRA.
Yeah.
So there was a number of things that we had and that the partnership committed to in terms of their manifesto. And what we saw coming just about a year into the partnership is that there were no movements on any of those issues whatsoever. And this boast about settling wages, it was on the backdrop of a massive and epic struggle that saw us going to REMA, which then led to the call of a state of emergency, which lasted 3 months with no amendments to the regulations, which would have allowed trade unions to at least have public meetings and so on. None of that happened. And then we went to the streets of Sangre Grande, Mayaro, San Fernando. That's what it took. And it was on the threat of strike action by Petrotrin that this 5% gap. So when we analyze that, as well as some of the governance issues, there was a commitment, not in terms of constitutional reform, there were about 3 low-hanging fruits: fixed term, 2 terms for Prime Minister, fixed date for elections, referendum, and right to recall. 4 straightforward things that would have made a huge difference. It's not a complete constitutional reform process or constitutional reform in terms of changing the constitution, but it would have at least signaled to the country that, hey, we are serious of changing the system of governance. No movements.
So why was Labour's agenda essentially hijacked?
I think that is a very good question that I think 2 people should be asked that question. The Prime Minister as the leader of the partnership and the Minister of Labour.
And the Minister of Labour, Mr. Remy, is whom?
I would still say Comrade Errol McLeod.
Comrade Errol McLeod.
At this time, until proven otherwise. You see why I deliberately said that? Because we were of the firm belief, and Ozzy made mention of that, when this whole thing was formulated and put together, it was against the backdrop that we wanted to see something fundamentally different happening in Trinidad and Tobago, particularly where workers were concerned. And if you look inside of the People's Partnership Manifesto, one of the things that was highlighted was that workers would be at the center of the development of Trinidad and Tobago.
Right.
And that to us was a very germane statement to make. That made the whole difference in terms of what the intention was. And now we have reached to the point where it's a complete about turn, and workers are now suffering and feeling the brunt of all the issues that have been developing the society today. And on a day like Labor Day, when we believe that we should be celebrating the success of labor, we have now to be commemorating what we call the desecration of the sacred ground in Faizabad, because the accord has failed miserably. The accord has really not borne any fruit for the working class in Trinidad and Tobago. And I believe that the Prime Minister and the Honorable Minister needs to explain to the country and to the working class why 4 years after that accord was signed and 4 years after they bought in to the workers' agenda, that they have not at least honored one single commitment of that workers' agenda. And that to us is really sad. It is unfortunate. But sometimes they say, you know, if you can't change the politics will change you. And it is apparent that the politics has changed certain people, and they are not representing what we thought they would have represented. And that to us is really the betrayal.
But Mr. Warwick, in essence, is it that the political fallout from simply ignoring the workers' agenda was not seen to be significant, in the sense that the MSJ, as the political offspring of the labor movement, that in essence, as a partner within the coalition members didn't view the MSJ as a very influential and powerful partner, and so it was easy to simply ignore the workers' agenda.
And that is unfortunate, because they are going to pay the political price for that.
Right.
I think we're very, very clear. Since the withdrawal of MSJ, they've lost moral authority, they've lost credibility, and it's been a spiral. It's not that we're approaching the precipice. We fell off this precipice, and the country is spiraling downwards. When you consider between that time and now, the amount of governance issues, whether it's email gate, whether it's Section 30, look at all the things that has happened since the withdrawal of MSJ. Section 34, email gate, prison gate, the issue of the $1 billion contract, SISL, which seemed to have gone cold. Then you're talking about containers of seasoned chicken and pressure cookers, which had other items. Then one of the largest drug busts in Virginia, a $600 million cocaine and juices. Nothing. And then you had the assassination of children, 9 and 15, and the assassination of a high public official in terms of Dana Sital. Nothing. No arrest. Nothing. I think we are of the firm view that it has collapsed. And the other thing is the level of corruption. I mean, you ask what went wrong. When we think back, at the end of the day, the interest of money and corruption and greed won over. And
but you know, Mr. Remy, what is to stop that from happening again? That rushing headlong into another general election and people clamoring for a change in government and so on, is that necessarily going to give this country what it needs in terms of an improved quality of governance?
Well, and Hayden, you hit the point there, you know, what we are yearning for and what we are struggling for and what we felt would have been possible after May 2010 would have been a change in the governance structure and the governance system, which is critical. Case in point, a few days ago, we saw where the parliamentarians for the first time united. What did they unite on? Their own personal agenda to ensure that their pensions are enhanced, while workers are fighting to maintain a decent standard of living. So both sides of the fence, opposition and government, came together and they ensured that they would all benefit from what they call good pensions when they retire. After 4 years, we have occupational pension plans. 33 and a third years you must make to get full pension, and the maximum you can get is 2/3 of your final salary. But an MP, 4 years, and starts at 1/3. Where's the equity? And we are saying it is not about the people, you know, it's about the system of governance that could allow 41 persons to sit there and bring this thing on themselves, bring this kind of largesse on themselves without considering the fallout for the working class downstairs. And we are saying that we condemn that totally. We totally condemn that. And those are the things that we are challenging. Those are the things that we believe if MSJ would have been involved, they would have been championing those things and to do it differently. This is not you keep saying you want to serve the people, but you're serving yourself. That is self-serving interest, and we are condemning that, and we are calling out to the working class in Trinidad and Tobago. This is another example of changing the political system, changing the governance system that will ensure that parliamentarians will not do those kind of things. So that's a travesty of justice. It's a real travesty of justice.
So, Mr. Warwick, is it that in Trinidad and Tobago we have to resume this change process, that what was started in 2010 really has not yielded the results that we expected, so now we must go back to the drawing board and start all over again?
You know, we have to, I think we have to continue a process that actually would have been started in 1937. And there have been, you know, different challenges, but I go back there because it's today's Labor Day, and I want us to appreciate the deep significance of Labor Day. It's really not, first of all, it's not just about a day. The hostilities actually lasted until the 6th of July, and several other people lost their lives in this epic struggle against the colonial authority. And what were they struggling for? They were struggling because they felt that the existing system of governance was oppressive, it was colonialism, and they felt that it hindered their potential and their dreams and aspirations. 77 years on with an independence.
Well, since you had 1937, it took another 25 years before we actually gained political independence. Huh?
And then
so is it that we're looking at 25 years hence from 2010 before we can say we have an improved system of governance? Is that how long it's going to take?
Nah, you know, in physics, you have an accelerated rate.
Well, hopefully we will have some kind of acceleration. What is going to accelerate the rate of change in Trinidad and Tobago?
I think, first of all, we have to go to consciousness. I think people have to become more conscious of their role in the existing system. And they have to gain a sense of empowerment where they feel, wait a minute, I actually do have the power to make a change and to make a difference. And I use the examples, first of all, I use some examples such as the civil rights movement, the anti-apartheid movement. Then if you go bring it closer, you have the Arab Springs that took place, and now you've seen what is happening in Eastern Europe. What triggers that is consciousness, where people began to feel a sense of power, that I have the power to make a difference. And the reason I want to make a difference is because that's the first level of consciousness, that the existing system does not work for us anymore. And once we have come to terms as a society, as a country, and as a people, that wait, this current system is not working for us since 1962 to now.
But Mr. Remy, do you think that Trinidad and Tobago is at that point where the citizenry have recognized that this system is not working for them and they're prepared to do something about it?
I am not sure if we are 100% where we're supposed to be. And that's why the trade union movement must, and I want to repeat, must continue this vanguard action. We must go outside there and educate the masses. We have a responsibility. No one else is doing that. No one else has the moral authority to go outside there and convince the populace that what is happening in terms of governance in Trinidad and Tobago it's wrong. And we believe that we have an obligation to the society to spread this word around. We need to go outside there and educate people. And Comrade, as you say, we need to imbue a different kind of consciousness in the citizenry that will allow us to reach to that stage. We have to do it faster than 25 years, because if we wait 25 years, then the destruction that will take place within that 25 years, I think we would reach that point of no return. Yeah. We are not there as yet, but I think that our responsibility is now to do it. And Labor Day today is one of those days that we believe what is going to be said on the platform is going to be critical towards us heading in that direction.
Yeah. I just want to add, I have really great confidence in the mass movement.
Right.
And I think of a statement that C.L.R. James once made. He said that revolutions are like volcanoes. You actually just see the eruption, but you don't know, or you don't see what is simmering below the surface. And when you think of the Arab Spring, that's a very good example. If you had spoken to anyone living in Tunisia, Egypt, or Libya, if you had asked any one of them 2-3 years ago that there is the possibility of change, they would laugh. They'll say there's no way, Mubarak is here to stay. It's all we've known for 20-30 years. But then what happens? There is a trigger. And I am of the firm belief that that trigger can happen here in Trinidad and Tobago, and it might be before 2015.
The unfortunate thing about those triggers is that they tend to be violent and they tend to be destructive, and in many instances the process that follows therefrom tends to be very disruptive to the society and so on. I don't know if that's that's the kind of changing process that you're anticipating, is it?
Well, I mean, I can't tell the future, but I think what we have to do is to prepare in terms of how you guide that process and how you guide the emergence of that willingness and that desire and that commitment to change the system of governance, how you guide it.
Mr. Remy, if there was one message that you'd want to get across to the people of Trinidad and Tobago on Labor Day 2014, what would that message be?
We all need to get involved in making this fundamental transformation in the governance system of Trinidad and Tobago. We can't leave it up to the politicians alone. And people need to take responsibility within themselves. We need to understand that workers and the wider, less possessed in the society needs to have their space. And we must, as a responsible trade union movement, provide leadership on the ground. And the message that we would want to give on Labor Day is let us all join with the progressive trade union movement as we seek to transform Trinidad and Tobago to the place we all know it could be, and to this kind of society that we all have been yearning for, where equity and social justice would be the hallmark.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to take a very quick break and come back. We're having a very interesting discussion with Mr. Ozzi Warwick and Mr. Joseph Remy, and today is Labor Day, so stay with us.